With no further questions, they repeated the process they'd gone through at the well, laying the body on the ground, taking the pole and working it through the ropes. "Now, Albert," Wallace said, putting him in charge. "You and Robert Lee take the package just like you did before and go on down through the woods here for about half a mile till you come to that old liquor still pit by the branch. I'll take the horses, circle back through the field, and meet you there." "What must us do if you ain't there when we get there?" Robert Lee asked anxiously. "Lay it up on the side of the hill by the pit and cover it with brush like this morning." As they walked along with Turner's body swinging from the pole that rested on their shoulders, Robert Lee said, "When I thinks about what us is doing, I gets the spooky creeps." "Shut your mouth," Albert said irritably, "else you'll give 'em creeps to me too." The pit was deep in the woods where the trees of a virgin forest grew to a height of 60 feet. Their dense foliage so shaded out the sunlight that it looked like dark in the middle of the day. A mist hovered over the dark water in the branch nearby, and an owl, mistaking the hour, hooted high in a tree. Albert and Robert Lee hurriedly laid the body on the hillside above the pit and cut brush to cover it. "Come on, Albert," Robert Lee said when they'd finished. "Let's get out of here." "Make tracks, man," Albert replied. Then together they started to run, dashing through the woods toward the daylight. Almost at the edge of the field, they met Wallace coming toward them with the horses. "Did you get that package to the pit?" Breathless, Robert Lee nodded. "Covered it over so no one can see." Robert Lee nodded again, gulping for air. "All right, boys, you can go on back and start to planting cotton." Wallace handed Old Nell's reins to Robert Lee. To Albert, he said, "Be ready tonight an hour before sundown. I'll meet you at Robert Lee's house." They watched him gallop away on his horse, a flash of chestnut and 4 white feet flying across the soft green of the sunlit field. "You know something, Robert Lee? Wouldn't nobody know from looking that he'd been up to nothing more than riding his horse out in the field." Albert's green eyes hardened as he watched Wallace disappear. "And he ain't finished yet." "What you mean, ain't finished yet?" "We gotta come back an hour 'fore sundown." "What for?" "To finish up with that package." Robert Lee's black face began to knot again with fear. "What's he gonna do with it?" "Burn it." Robert Lee shrieked and began running again from the dark of the woods toward the sunlight. Albert ran after him, tackled him in the open field, and pinned him to the ground. "Listen to me, nigger," he said. "You get a hold of yourself. If Mr. Wallace wants to hear you squalling like that, see you so tore to pieces, he'd come back and kill the both of us." Robert Lee tried to get up, then gave way to the force of Albert's big, coarse hands on his shoulders. "You better not say nothing about this," Albert warned. "Not to nobody, no time." Robert Lee lay limp and frightened, his eyes fixed on Albert's face. "Just one word," Albert said, getting up, "and I'll string your guts out like a clothesline." Tears ran down Robert Lee's ravaged black cheeks. He rolled over and hid his face in the soft green grass. He was now afraid of everything. Turner's dead body, Mr. Wallace, and Albert, too. Old Nell had bolted and run, and Albert stalked off to find her. Angry as he was, he felt halfway ashamed of jumping on Robert Lee like that. He didn't feel no better about what they had done than Robert Lee did. But carrying on like that wasn't going to help a thing. When it came to getting nerved up, Robert Lee wasn't no better than a woman. Old Nell was standing by the pasture fence, nibbling tender grass leaves from the trees. "Come on, old girl," Albert said, easing up and picking up the reins. "We gots to go home for dinner." Albert's wife, Lola May, was standing on the porch waiting for him when he got home. Her dark purple lips were puffed out in a pout, her round face set, her eyes flashing fire. "Where in the name of the Lord has you been, Albert?" she demanded. "It's way past dinner time." "Me and Robert Lee been helping Mr. Wallace fix up an old barn," Albert lied. "Come on so's I can feed you." Albert followed her into the kitchen, took a pint bottle of moonshine liquor off the shelf, and had slugged down half of it before she saw what he was doing.